All right, joining us on the line is the Libertarian Senate candidate for Indiana, Lucy Brenton. Lucy, how are you doing today?
Hey, I am doing great. I'm just anticipating tomorrow's voter IQ test called the election.
Yeah, we got a long day ahead of us as well. We're going to be covering it probably starting at 7 o'clock. We'll do all the live coverage going through everything. So how have things been? I mean, obviously you've run for office before, but there's some people that were just learning about you for the very first time this election cycle.
I'll tell you what, I have 10 children, and I've been married for 28 years, and running for election and being a candidate, it's way more fun than marriage or childbirth, even the two combined.
You have 10 kids?
I do. I've given birth to 10 human beings.
So you're running for office to get away from your family, right? That's what's going on?
Don't tell anyone. It's a secret.
Smokes. You've got more kids than my buddy Joel. He's got 7, and it's a madhouse.
Well, tell him he's a slacker and tell him I told him so.
So what's your oldest and your youngest?
27 and 5. And both the grandbabies are, 14 months and 4 months. So I've been extremely blessed, and that is exactly why I am running for the United States Senate, because at the federal level, there are a lot of stupid laws that should not be affecting the individual daily lives of Hoosiers. And if I don't do something about it, then it's going to affect my children and grandchildren. And I'm just not going to have that.
So obviously, the three big issues that we've been seeing mostly in the campaigning has been health care, the economy, and immigration. So where does the Libertarian Lucy Brenton philosophy fall in? I want to just start with the economy. Let's start there, and then we'll just make our way down the list, and you can kind of give people your take on all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start with the economy. Trump dropped corporate taxes from 35 to 21. Awesome, but not good enough. I would actually take corporate taxes down to 0. The reason that Apple, a trillion-dollar company, puts some of their operations outside the U.S. is not really as much about labor costs as it is about taxes and the fact that if they keep their money outside the U.S., then they can keep their money. If we make the corporate taxes, let's just pretend we experimented, we did it only for Hoosier land. We make Indiana 0 corporate income tax. The companies would fight to come here, the good jobs would follow, and our economy would grow immensely. So the economy and the jobs can be fixed by taking out those layers of government theft called taxation and letting the consumer keep that money in their pocket where it belongs.
Now, obviously, you're going to get the political left or the moderate right. They're going to come back at you and you say 0 corporate tax rate. They go, we can't fund anything. Why even have these businesses here if they're not giving us any money? What is the point of having it? And it's going to be a giant disaster. What do you say to that?
Here's the thing. At the federal government level, which is why I should speak to since I'm a United States Senate candidate, it's this. The Constitution has very limited functions for the government. The Constitution is supposed to put a muzzle on the government to keep it from interfering with our daily lives. That's like the whole point of the Fourth Amendment is the right to be left alone. And there are very few things that the federal government should legitimately do. If we were to get rid of all those alphabet soup agencies that are redundant and often duplicated at the state level, we get rid of all the money that we have to send to Washington, D.C. to do that. Then we can go back to the Constitution where it says taxes are by apportionment. The federal government they determine what little amount they need to run the federal government with, and then they give the bill to the states based on the size of our population. That's the way it's supposed to happen, but it's not. So let's get rid of all that federal government cost.
So we're looking at some of the campaigns across the country. You're looking at the Democrats. A lot of them are running on repealing the tax cuts, in particular the corporate tax cuts. They really hate those. If you look at the Republican side, some of them are running on an additional 5% cut in those rates. But I guess you would say that the Democrats are looking at this completely wrong and the Republicans are just not doing enough.
Right. The Republicans and the Democrats, the old parties, as I like to call them, they look through the lens of how do we get as much as we can out of the cow? How do we milk the cow until the cow doesn't die and doesn't revolt? So that's what's happening with us taxpayers. They're trying to figure out how much of our daily labor can they remove from us without us actually revolting like it was in 1776. The libertarian lens is completely different. We believe that you own you, and therefore the money and value and labor that you produce by going to work, that's your money. It's not the government's money. So quick math, let's say a product costs $15 and $5 of that is corporate taxes to the federal government. If we eliminated that, now you as a consumer can buy that same product for $10, and the $5 stays in your pocket. You can go spend it on something else. But in order to do that, you've got to get rid of the redundancy and get rid of the federal government, agencies and programs that are already duplicated at the state level.
All right. So, Lucy, let's take a look at immigration now. I would say that probably one of the things that even though there's a lot of crossover with Republicans and conservatives in the libertarian movement, is there is often a disconnect or a disagreement on immigration. So we're taking a look at these caravans. There's a debate about the 14th Amendment right now. What does your platform stand on immigration, and what reforms should be made, if any?
I believe that labor is the same as capital and should move freely between markets and between countries. So if someone is coming they're willing to come here and they're hard workers and they're smart, they want to give their talent to us, who are we to stop the people that are willing to come here and work for minimum wage so that Americans can take higher paying jobs, to take the jobs that we don't want and to make it legal so that they can pay taxes into the system? But it's just like my home. If I'm going to have a backyard barbecue, I can invite the whole neighborhood, but if there are a couple of jerks, I'm going to leave them out. And if they start to do something criminal, I'm going to call the police and have the police forcibly remove them. So our country is very much like our home. We should be able to welcome good people in who will add to our lives. And the freeloaders, the guy that never brings a side dish, you just don't let him come. You keep him in his own place.
So if Lucy Brenton is in the United States Senate and they're debating what to do about these 4 caravans, I believe it's up to 4 now, if it hasn't gone past that, at least one of them is extremely violent. We look at these caravans, what does Lucy Brenton, as a United States Senator, kind of advise the Senate to do, or maybe even in a meeting with the president, advise the president to do on this?
Well, of course, we protect our borders just like we would protect our borders at home. But I don't want to make any assumptions based on mainstream news and mainstream media, because so much of it is used for political manipulation and to get Americans all riled up about something that may not even be true. So I would hope that as a United States Senator, I would actually be briefed on what's actually happening and not how the news media is spinning it. That said, if we have to defend our borders, we have to defend our borders. But I can tell you this, somebody's throwing rocks, I'm not shooting bullets at them.
Okay. All right, so now we've got the economy, we've got immigration. Let's what was the other one?
Healthcare.
What was that?
Healthcare.
Jeez. Oh, good Lord, man. It's a Monday, no Lucy. Worries. Leave me alone. I'm not running for office.
There's a cure for that. It's called coffee.
I am trying my best to get as much coffee in my system as I possibly can. I'm actually drinking it on camera with you right now.
Yeah, I've got too much blood in my caffeine system. That's one of the things I'm going to stop.
There you go.
Healthcare. We all have the responsibility to keep our own bodies healthy. I don't smoke anything.
No. It's McDonald's fault that I ate the fries.
Yeah, well, personal responsibility, that's in short supply in this country, and that's really one of our platforms as libertarians, is you own yourself. So you have the responsibility to keep yourself as healthy as possible. If I'm in a car accident, I have car insurance, that's going to pay for my injuries. But if I've eaten McDonald's my entire life and I get fat and have a heart attack, then maybe other people shouldn't be paying for that. Now, if a whole bunch of people that have that same sort of lifestyle get together and say we want to insure each other and have this, this thing called an insurance premium, we're all going to pay into it. So when one of us messes up and has a heart attack because we're stupid and ate wrong, well, then, that's going to pay for that care. But people like me that don't smoke, don't drink, we don't do all these things. We're healthier. We should be in an insurance pool that rewards us for our good behavior. So what happens with the ACA is that it skews incentives because government comes in, lumps everybody together, and it makes the people that have made good choices pay for the people that have made bad choices, and that's just flat out wrong.
Now, would you support a full repeal of the Affordable Care Act? Excuse me.
Yes, not only would I support a full repeal, but I also advocate that nothing take its place. It's up to the individual states to decide how to take care of their people, whether they even want some sort of health care scheme or not. And regardless of what happens, nothing should ever be forced on anyone. If you want to participate in something, it should be voluntary. You should never be forced to buy any product at the point of the government's gun.
Now, I was looking at some of the research here this last week, and they were saying that in many of these races, some of the Democratic candidates, about 75% of the ads that they're running are running on health care and keeping the Affordable Care Act, expanding it, looking at single payer, that sort of thing. The Republicans seem to be running on the economy. Democrats seem to be running on health care. So you're obviously going to have a lot of Democrats who are going to look at you and go, well, what about those people who can't afford to be in a health pool? They can't afford insurance. And then you're also going to get questions about Medicare and retirement and the elderly and the infirmed and that sort of thing. So what's your response to that?
Absolutely. Everyone is scared because so much money and labor has been stolen from them for so long that they haven't been able to save for their own retirement. So we've been promised Social Security. Here's what I advocate for Social Security. First, it's a Ponzi scheme. There's no use pretending that it isn't. Current workers are paying for current receivers of benefits. So if you have fraud, which is what a Ponzi scheme is, the first thing that you do is you stop the fraud and you don't force anybody else to participate. So if it were Lucy Brenton as U.S. Senator tomorrow, I would make sure that everybody starting their jobs tomorrow never pays into Social Security. Those people that understand that are entrepreneurs know that companies pay 7.5%, workers pay 7.5%. There's 15% there that should be available to the person who's earning the money that they can do what they want with in order to make sure that they take care of their future needs. If you had an extra 15% in your pocket, you'd probably be able to very easily pay for your own retirement for the future, and you'd make better choices because your incentive would be to make better choices, unlike the government, which is not. So all that said, what do we do about the people who are receiving Social Security now? We don't want them eating dog food. We're going to have to figure out a way to make good on our obligations that were bound to us by previous generations of saving politicians. So we got to take care of good people. We don't get rid of the social safety net, but clearly the way that it's going is not sustainable.
So, Lucy, obviously we have to talk about some of the stuff that's been happening with the mailers, and I want to make it very clear, crystal clear. And you had commented on my Facebook page about this as well, that you had not been receiving any direct funding or benefit from the Democratic Party of Indiana. But obviously they have seen an opportunity because you're speaking red meat right here. I've had a lot of my audience say, hey, I'm learning about Lucy Brenton for the very first time, and I like a lot of what she's saying. These are people who have been lifelong Republican voters. And I think that the Donnelly campaign and the Democratic Party of Indiana see that. Now they're sending out these mailers in your name, but it is important for people to understand that these are not things that are coming from you. But have you gone out there and actually demanded that they stopped or criticized them or anything like that?
Yeah, I've publicly denounced and renounced them multiple times. I am shocked that they would use such a dirty political trick. They even put my phone number as well as Mike Braun's phone number on the mailers. We're receiving hundreds of calls a day. Some people are sympathetic and they understand it's just a dirty, rotten Democrat trick. Others actually think that I sent them out and I somehow colluded with the Democrats receiving the money. So thank you for making it clear. I had no knowledge of these. I think it's a bad tactic, but here's what it does show me. The old parties are running scared. Here's why they're running scared. For about 150 years, we've had this Democrat-Republican paradigm. At every step, government has gotten bigger. At every step, more money is taken from your paycheck. At every step, the quality of our life, individually and as a whole in our country, has declined. It doesn't matter whether red shirts are in power or blue shirts are in power, America loses. It's time to stop voting for politicians like you vote for the Colts versus the Patriots, and it's time to actually look at the positions. A lot of people think the libertarian positions are tough because we talk about personal responsibility. But with personal responsibility comes personal freedom. When you shove the responsibility for your life off to the government, they're more than happy to take it. But understand that what you're giving up is your freedom. So really, when you make a decision to vote for a libertarian, you're making a decision to vote for a philosophical, political, policy that is all about you and your personal freedom. You get to do whatever you want as long as you don't hurt anyone else. And beyond that, the government needs to stay out of your business.
Lucy Brenton, running for U.S. Senate in the great state of Indiana. Lucy, how can people learn more about you, participate in your campaign, and maybe make their final decision for tomorrow's vote?
Thank you. The first way they can learn about me is by opening up their ballot, seeing that I'm there across the state and marking the X beside Lucy Brenton, Libertarian, and all other Libertarians, especially Mark Rutherford. The Secretary of State's race is the most important race right now. So please vote for Mark Rutherford, Secretary of State. Please visit my website, lucy4senate.com. I'm on Twitter as Lucy4, the number 4 Senate, and also on Facebook as Lucy4, the number 4 Senate. Lots of policy positions, lots of live videos. You don't have to go in this wondering where I stand, and you'll never get a negative mailer that I've sent out or a negative ad. We run on principle, not on fear.
Something else that Lucy Brenton does that other candidates don't do, she puts her debates on her website.
I do. Thank you.
I noticed that. Other candidates tend to run from their debate performances, but you put it up there for people to see.
Thank you. Yeah, IndianaDebateCommission.com. If you want to see me mop the floor with those two gentlemen, one wearing a red jersey, one wearing a blue, I totally blow them out of the water. I am the only candidate that will answer the question. And I'm the only candidate that gets the audience to laugh over and over again. Because it doesn't all have to be this serious, people. Let's get our freedom back.
Lucy Brenton, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Bye-bye, Michiana.
Lucy4senate.com. Lucy Brenton is she is the Libertarian candidate for U.S. Senate in the state of Indiana, running against the incumbent, Joe Donnelly, Democrat, and, of course, the Republican challenger, Mike Braun. We've got more coming up. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
Casey Hendrickson, News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
Your breaking news and weather station.